Okay. So we're gonna close out the show here by talking just a little bit about the LFL. Legends Cup happened last weekend, or this past Saturday. Um, I believe the MVP awards were handed out the weekend prior, or the weekend prior to that. So for starters, Michelle Angel wins LFL League MVP. I am very happy with that. It is very deserving, honestly. It's when it comes down to MVP, I think obviously stats have a big thing to play with it. I don't think it should go to anybody that is trying to do anything but pad their stats. I think it should be somebody that has great stats, all whilst trying to benefit their team. I did not like Russell Wilson. I'm not Russell Wilson. I did not like Russell Westbrook getting MVP a couple of years ago, despite obviously his triple double number was unreal in terms of modern basketball. But he was he cares way too much about stats rather than his team success, and it obviously shows. Granted, I was okay with it, obviously, because it was something unheard of. Nobody had ever averaged a triple double in a season, or at least had more than half of the games in a season with a triple double. That was unreal. So I would make an exception there, but I would much rather take a guy that was successful and had great stats, whilst his main concern was his team's success. The Thunder have sucked over the past couple of years because Russell Westbrook is their franchise face, and he's the guy that is expected to lead the Thunder into success, but he cares too much about his own personal and professional success rather than his team's success. And the Thunder will never succeed with that. That's why they brought in guys like Paul George and Carmelo Anthony to try to offer that leadership role, because obviously Russell Westbrook does not have a leadership role. He has this leadership complex to an extent, but his main focus is himself, not his team, not his city's population, not the success of a franchise, the success of his own self and his own professional status. Michelle Angel had great statistics this year. Michelle Angel cared about her team, and Michelle Angel led her team. The Seattle Mist would not have been in playoff contention all the way throughout their last game of the season had it not been for Michelle Angel. Now, you can talk about my crush over her as much as you would give a shit to do, but the fact of the matter is there's nothing but truth in that statement. Michelle Angel was the face of that offense, and seeing that the defense sucked. I mean, no disrespect to those players or anything like that, but God, they were not able to stop a fucking chicken from running around 3 feet of hay. It was insane. So obviously, there needed to be a change. So they put their star quarterback, on defense. And what do you know? That defense started succeeding. I've been singing her praises all season long. She's been a great quarterback and a great team leader, great offensive face. She was able to lead a defensive side of the ball that she was very used to, but she was able to go from quarterback to defense, a very, very risky move from the coaching staff, and was able to bring that defense together. There's nobody that I can see other than Michelle Angel in the LFL that can have that kind of impact, where she can go from one side of the ball to another side of the ball that can risk and can hurt the chances of her playing on either side of the ball for the remainder of the season if an injury were to occur, and get a floundering defense to succeed. That offense would have floundered had she not been the leader of that offensive side of the ball, had she not been the quarterback. She was the biggest reason for the success of the Mist this year. That is a one-woman team. She is the woman that you build around. She's got many years left in the league, many years of success left in the league. She is miles better than she was in Dallas, and she was incredible in Dallas as well. She's a player you build around if you're in Seattle and if you're a part of the Mist. She's a girl you build around. That girl can take that ball and move it in her team's favor no matter what side of the ball she's on in her team, in the direction that her team needs to go. She can pull together that defense. She can pull together that offense. She was by far the most deserving of that award. No disrespect to any of the other candidates, but Michelle Angel was the Mist. The Mist was not just Michelle Angel. You know, she was the reason they were in playoff contention to the point where they were. There's no doubting that. There's no way you can deny that, because that is simply the truth. And when it comes down to the league champions, this past week, we saw the Chicago Bliss route the Austin Acoustic in the Legends Cup to win. I think it was their third. I think it was their second or their third Legends Cup in team history. So congratulations to Chicago. It was a fantastic season. Obviously, the Bliss were incredible. They were a powerhouse on both sides of the ball. I went 3 for 3 in my playoff predictions. Yippee. And well, at the end of the day, while it wasn't very shocking to see the Bliss walk out as the Legends Cup champions, it was more surprising to see how long Austin held in for. Despite the fact that it was, well, it never really looked as though the ball was going to go, or the game was going to go in Austin's favor. They definitely held in no matter the case, or no matter what the case would have been. So very big props to them. This was a great season. I think next year there needs to be some tightening of the rules. If you're Mitch Mortaza, and I'll say it directly to you because for all I know you could be watching, there were some times where I fell off in caring this season, mostly when the games were a blowout and mostly when they were high scoring. I wasn't a big fan of the pants getting shafted for the shorts again, but you know that's off of the field. So at the end of the day, you know, well, I care for the players' comfortability. The gameplay, I guess, matters more towards the success of the league than the attire of the athletes in the league. Extend the field. I know a lot of other people that watch the LFL for the football need more of a reason to stay caring about the product past the second quarter or past the first half in a Denver versus Chicago game. You know, I can't sit around in a 66-0 game and go, oh yeah, definitely want to sit down and watch the third quarter. As a matter of fact, I'd probably go do something else and just have it play in the background. Extend the field. It makes the scoring much more difficult to come by. Hell, you can do 100 yards, you can do 80 yards, you can do 75 yards. Do something. Change it up. Make it more difficult for the offenses to score. And on top of that, if you're going to have as short of a field as you do, I think there needs to be more of a change incorporated. I think there needs to be little rules that need to be adjusted. If you're going to do 10 minutes, then do 10 minutes. But you know, if you want a longer game, let's say a 100-yard field, you want to make it feel more. If you want there to be a bigger reason to care, even if it's 100 yards, maybe shorten the width of the field. You know, keep it at 100 yards, but maybe shorten the sidelines. If you're going to have 7-on-7 tackle football, then obviously shorten the sidelines so there's less room to work with, I guess, for an offense. Make it a little bit more difficult, obviously. 1st and 10 should be 1st and 15. At the end of the day, I think a big reason for why the LFL is so high scoring, you know, despite, you know, the 50-yard field, I think it's because there's 1st and 10, you know, to come by. I think it's a case of you're on 1st and 10, you have 4 plays to get a first down, not 3. You know, first down, let's say you run, you get 2 yards. Okay, there's that. You run again, 4 yards on 2nd down. You're at 3rd down and 4. And you run again. You know, let's say you get 2 yards. It's 4th down and 2. But you have to go forward on 4th down no matter what. So, you know, obviously you get a 3rd play. Or, you know, obviously the rules dictate that a turnover and downs happen. But I think with a wider field, you have a reason for punting. You have a reason for all of it. Or you know what? If you want to keep it at 50 yards, do it up to third down, rather than have punt. If you want to keep everything the way it is, have it just be first down and you make it to 3. So if on third down you don't convert, then you have then it's a turnover on downs. So it's something to kind of give the offense less room to breathe, because obviously the offense is a much more important side of the LFL than defense is, just based off of the rules that you have to go by, first down all the way up till you have to turn over on downs, or it's such a short field that a bomb downfield into the end zone is a cakewalk for a lot of these quarterbacks. Ashley Salerno, Michelle Angel, with a big arm, and that can hit their targets where they need to be. So either lengthen the field out, make the first down marker a little bit harder to get to, or shrink the amount of downs you have to get a first down. What else you can do is you can have it just be a first down all the way to fourth down, but you have no place you have to get to. You just have to score within 4 plays, and in which case that makes the scoring much more difficult to come by. You could also have it where the defensive side of the ball is mandated to have a number of people in coverage, so therefore it's much more difficult to get the ball down passing. So if you wanted to have it be 4 downs to get to the end zone, obviously a rush would be much more logical to go by if you want to gain yards quick, but you have to run it 50 yards. You want to run it every time to get into the end zone. Sorry, hold on. Okay, my bad. So obviously, it becomes more logical to run. You will have more success and gain more on the ground than taking a risk by passing, but you have to pass eventually if you wanted to get to the end zone. I think if you wanted to play it without kickoffs, you can have them start from their own 5-yard line. And rather than a safety, if there were to be a safety scored, the other team would then go get the ball on the 10-yard line. I don't think there should be any punts if that were the case. Or what you can do instead of a kickoff is you would just have a punt off. You have it be to the case where if somebody scores, whoever the mandated kicker or punter of that team would be, they'd have to punt it from their own 5-yard line down to their opponent's side. And if it goes out of the back of the end zone, the team gets it at their own 10-yard line. And if it goes out the sideline, then they get an extra 10 yards, so they move up to the 20. If you can do something along those lines. But that's just my suggestion. There was another thing that I wanted to suggest. Instead of it being 4 games in a season, which causes a lot of, does this team deserve to be in the postseason, or does this team deserve to be in the postseason? Because if you asked me this season, I thought that the Mist should have been in the postseason more so than the Temptation. I thought the Mist would have given the Acoustic much more of a contest than the Temptation had given them. However, at the end of the day, you can't really do much, because with the rules, obviously the Temptation make the playoffs based off of record and based off of their success as a team earlier. But the Mist would have been a bigger threat towards the Acoustic making it to the Legends Cup than the Temptation would have been. We can avoid that by having there be more than just 4 games played. In my UFL league, that little virtual football league that I do, you have 6 games over a 12-week period. Weeks 1-1 and 1-2, where 8 teams play in week 1-1 and the other 8 teams in the league play in week 1-2. Something along those lines. But what you can do is you can have on Saturdays, you can have 2 games be played within your team, and then the following Saturday you can have 2 more games be played with the rest of the teams in the league. And you can do that for 6 to 8 weeks, so you have more games to play and more breathing room to determine who deserves to be in the postseason. And at the same time, it's more of a concrete, stable scheduling for your league. These little changes that I think can make this next year much better, and I think they were trying to run through it this year, especially with the fact that they closed off kickoffs halfway through the season, or a little over halfway through the season. The offense and defensive side of the ball in some of the most established teams were kind of off sync a little bit. You had a little bit more of a difficulty with the rules. The referees were more lenient and way more strict at times than they should have been. It's kind of an overall clusterfuck, and at the end of the day, I think that everything needs to make it to the case where the games become more interesting. And I don't think you can have that when you get a 66-60 game or a 66-0 game. I think, if you're asking me, I would much rather see the LFL games end in a 31-24 game or what have you. I mean, hell, if you want to do field goals or PATs, what you can do is have it be a case where you start, if you want a field goal, you start from the position that you are on the field, and I don't know, you have to get 10 yards, or you have to go to your 10-yard line and get within or get into the end zone. PATs, you can have it be the regular 1-yard line rush. The same for the 2-point conversion, but that's at the 3 or something along those lines. For an onside kick, you can kind of adjust it a little bit. Let's just say you have to have a quarterback. You have to have a quarterback throw it 20 yards downfield. Both teams start at their opposing end zones and rush to the center of the field, and the quarterback has to make it at least 15 yards. So by the point in time, it gives the defensive side of the ball an easier chance to recover. Fuck off. And you can give the offense a bigger chance to regain that 2-point conversion. So something along those lines that make it a little bit easier, but at the same time you restrict them to, you can only do that within the final 2 or 3 minutes of the game or of each quarter. You get or on the opening kickoff of a half. At that point in time, you have a reason for it. Or you can do, instead of a kickoff or a punt off, you can just have a throw off. I just think these little changes can make the league a little bit more enjoyable to watch and a little bit more digestible. You can sit through the games without having to worry about losing interest, or you can start watching a game without losing or worrying that, oh, well, this team is much more of a powerhouse than this team, so obviously it's going to be a blowout. Why should I even bother watching? Just avoid those situations, make the game and the league much more enjoyable to watch overall as a whole. So that's just my point on that. With that being said, thank you for watching or listening to this podcast on Podcast One. We appreciate your attention, and we appreciate your views. We appreciate your time and effort, and whatever. You get the point. Quick little plugs. My YouTube channel, youtube.com/UNITARDZZ. That's Unitars, just with one more Z than the actual name in its title. This Wednesday, September 19th, 2018, myself, Lettered Yesterday, the project releases its first single off of the EP. It's called Ballad of the Great Divide. You will hear from how to hear or listen to it very soon. And aside from that, thank you very much. Hardy Complex will be on every Monday. New time, 9 to 11 p.m. We've got it concrete, set in stone. Thank you very much. I appreciate everything, and I love you all for your attention, and I love you all for your... you get the point. Anyway, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Fuck off. Up next, Fantasy Football Weekly. 30 minutes of nonstop depression as to why your fantasy football team sucks, and mine does too. It doesn't even exist because I don't like fantasy football as much this season as I have a couple of seasons prior. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for this 11 o'clock to 11:30 broadcast of Fantasy Football Weekly. We'll see you next Monday right here, 9 a.m. sharp. Appreciate you all. We're signing off, and you'll get to see the... Never mind. Fuck it. Adios. And finish!